back to Nigel and Trump. Nigel Farage. We'll back up a touch from where we were last time. What was he talking about?
Vote, and I understand that. Now, one other thing, Mitch McConnell did a terrible job.
Oh, right. I forgot. Where we left him last, he was shitting on Republicans. So, fuck, I should have popped some popcorn.
This guy's talking about $600 giving during this troubled time, giving, and they're talking about $2,000. You don't win elections that way. Now, right or wrong, you just don't win elections that way. So Mitch McConnell was a disaster. And
so McConnell wanted $600, fiscally conservative Republican viewpoint on money given out. The Democrats were pushing for $2,000. That's what Biden was campaigning on. It's what he made happen. And Trump's complaint is that they just outspent us. It was like an auction for voters. Hell was 600 in the back. I got 2,000 going once American.
I think that really they did get a lot of votes, but a lot of people were discouraged. There's no question.
Yeah, I'm sure of that. So looking ahead, from here.
Yeah.
No, there is no ahead. Fix2020.com.
Is the message to look back at November 2020 and to condemn and criticize much of what happened?
Yeah.
Or is the message to look forward and try and make sure that weakness in the system can't exist again?
I think it's both. I think it has to be.
Yeah, it has to be both. You have to, I mean, there is no campaign stop if Trump can't bitch about 2020.
We have a base in Alabama, as an example, had 69,000 people recently show up.
And that's weird. And you could only sell 100,000 copies of your picture book. Maybe, in defense of you, maybe not all of those people were illiterate.
Wherever I go, I think I'm getting big.
Or perhaps they just don't have a coffee table. That's just in general.
Crowds now at the rallies, and you know the rallies because you've been to plenty of them. I have the biggest crowds.
Yeah, they're amazing. As free events for lunatics go, I mean, it's almost like they're just corralling people.
Ever had. And I think it has to be both, because if you don't study what took place and do something about it, if possible, I think they're going to do something about it. I don't view that as a foregone conclusion. If you don't look back, you really can't look to the future. But I think it's really a combination of both, and very strong to the future. But
I love how, like, Farage is like basically going, I'm talking to a moron. This man is a complete fuckhead.
Also, it's very strong looking back. People don't want that to happen again.
No, and voter ID.
No, we don't. We definitely do not want Trump in office again. We don't want to have another election that involves Trump. That's true.
For example,
voter ID is very.
There's an overwhelming majority, and it's not just Republican voters, it's Democrat voters who.
Right. It's weird. It's almost like what you just said was complete fucking bullshit. Yeah. I'm sorry. This is the wrong face for it. I say, tell him, Nigel, my God, man. Excuse me. I got goodness. Tell him, sir. Yes. Even Democrats want this, don't you know? Yes. Absolutely. Don't understand how everyone is positive. We're very aware, you know. Everyone's aware that we need voter ID. You know, when you're in a democracy like the United States, whatever, and of course, not in sort of a constitutional bullshit monarchy mix thing that we have over there, which is quite embarrassing that, you know, what? Nothing wrong to have there. Oh, don't fear about it.
Voter ID makes sense. We've got to have free and fair.
Right. If we didn't have as an example, if we didn't have what happened in 2020, all of these legislatures and all of these people that are meeting and passing voter ID now would have never happened. So, you know, looking back is okay. You have to look both ways, but you can't forget.
Somebody's been talking to Mike Lindell
about what happened. And if you did, you wouldn't have all of the things that are happening now happen. And there's some very exciting things.
Oh, and by the way, all of the things that are happening now he's talking about is unemployment being at 4.2% and a million more jobs than were estimated being added this year, even beyond the number that was recovered. Yeah. like U.S. wage going up overall. An extra almost $1 trillion of worth added to the lower 50% of the economic strata. So yeah, I mean,
one of the big things is voter ID, and you have to stop the mail-in voting. The mail-in voting is just ripe for fraud, and that's what it was.
Well, I'm keen to look ahead with this conversation. One last point about the past. 6th of January, which is something that your opponents gleefully seized upon, particularly.
Gleefully. We were very excited. I was sitting at home going, oh, I wish oh, look at that. They're beating up cops. This is awesome. Fuck you, Nigel Farage. Gleefully. Gleefully.
You know, the social media giants on the West Coast and everybody else. And I know that you were willfully misquoted in terms of what you'd said that day. Because
in many different ways.
No, you were
no.
Go in peace, and I understand that,
Right.
and I get.
Bullshit. Walk down there peacefully and patriotically, but you're going to have to be strong, and if it doesn't go the way we want, they're not going to be happy that what they hear from us. It was all like, walk down there quietly. Don't let them know you're coming, essentially. Like, tiptoe through the living room before you get to the safe. Does not mean don't wake up anyone in the house and be a nice house guest.
That. Looking back on the 6th of January, was it a mistake to have had that rally on that day? Or?
Well, you know, I didn't have, that was a rally that was there. And if you look, it was a massive rally with hundreds and hundreds of thousands of people. I think it was the largest crowd I've ever spoken before.
Uh-huh.
And and I reverse it. The insurrection took place on November 3rd. That was Election Day.
Right. This was just self-defense. What happened on January 6th was just those people at that rally, it was an act, it was our democracy firing back.
Before and after. That was, to me, the insurrection. And the January 6th was a protest. But if you would have looked at the crowds, the size, nobody wants to talk about that. I believe it was the biggest and most people
Who gives a fuck? Yeah, Turning Points USA bust people in. Everybody was gathering there as an attack on democracy. It's not impressive.
Spoken to very big crowds. I have never spoken in front of a crowd that size. Nobody ever talks about that. And then, unfortunately, some bad things happened, but also the other side had some very bad things happen.
Oh, this is him blaming Antifa. So I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of people in Antifa have type 1 diabetes and rebel flags on their trucks.
And add this. I offered 10,000 and suggested 10,000 National Guardsmen. We want the National Guard to be there, 10,000, or even the military, because I knew the crowd was going to be massive, because I knew the anger that took place over the election being rigged. And I understood that. I understood it better than anybody.
I was trying to tee up a military coup, and I wasn't able to do it, so I had to rely on these fucking hicks.
And Pelosi and these people turned it down. We would have had tremendous security, but they turned it down.
And that would have stopped people going in.
Oh, that would have stopped any problem. Absolutely. They turned it down. Also, as you know,
I'm going to sneeze 1 second. Almost. Let me find it in 1 second. Claim House Speaker Nancy Pelosi blocked the National Guard from coming to the Capitol during the January 6th insurrection. AP's assessment, false. As Speaker of the House, Pelosi does not direct the National Guard. Further, as the Capitol came under attack, she and the Senate Majority Leader called for military assistance, including the National Guard. Facts, on Tuesday, a false claim about the deadly January 6th riot at Capitol resurfaced against suggesting that Pelosi blocked the National Guard from coming to lawmakers' defense during the insurrection. Why'd you block the National Guard from protect the Capitol? Indiana Jim Banks tweeted. Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy posed a similar question. Was there a decision by the Speaker not to have the National Guard on the Capitol that day? The answer is no. On January 6th, the Speaker, target of an assassination attempt that day, was no more in charge of the Capitol security than Mitch McConnell was. This is a clear attempt to whitewash what happened, said Drew Hamill, a spokesperson for Pelosi. The decision on whether to call National Guard troops to the Capitol is made by what is known as the Capitol Police Board, which is made up of the House Sergeant of Arms, the Senate Sergeant of Arms, and the architect of the Capitol. The board decided not to call the Guard ahead of the insurrection, but did eventually request assistance after the rioting had already begun. Now, I don't know why people would expect that why Trump would so obviously say, yeah, you're going to need a lot of people because my followers are fucking lunatics.
The police, I guess they say, were not given proper instructions by Capitol Hill, which is Pelosi. They were given some very bad instructions.
Yeah, it was the instructions. They got lost on their way to the Capitol. There was a bill in front of them to use GPS, but apparently, AOC blocked it.
So if you look at what happened and go back and really study it, they were so angered and so upset, and so people cried.
That's what it was. Yeah, these people were so angry and upset.
They were so angered by it. Now, if you lost the election, people don't act that way, but they knew that.
Yes, they do. They weren't right to attack. This is what he's saying now. They were right to attack the fucking Capitol.
We won the election, and they went there. But to me, the real insurrection, if you look at it, took place on Election Day.
Now, either way, we've got Biden and Harris in office, and they've got plummeting poll ratings, and we've got a border crisis, as you quite rightly said, law and order.
They are in actual office, though. They do. He is the president of the United States, and you're not, and you won't be again.
The Black Lives Matter movement, which is now becoming increasingly, I think, political, don't you? It's not.
Yes, the Black Lives Matter movement was never political before.
It's shocking that it started off, with pigs in a blanket, right? You know that, right?
Yeah.
You know the expression, fry them like bacon. And they...
So that is not how the Black Lives Matter movement started. The fuck are you talking about? I mean, I don't know why I should be shocked at all. But, the way he talks about our own soldiers, why would this surprise me?
That was about our police, our great police. And all of a sudden this becomes mainstream? I don't really think so. And Antifa, bad, very bad. And they had Antifa in that rally. They had Antifa leading a lot of people on that day on January.
Well, did not.
And I will say that it's pretty incredible that nothing happens to them. But the other side, this has been going on for many years.
So they're not just about racial equality then.
Well, I think they're about politics, but I think they're about a lot of other things. If you go back to their original founding and what they were saying, kill the police. What they're saying is kill.
No. What the fuck? What? Look, there are people associated with Black Lives Matter and the organization that are complete assholes. And there are people who have marched alleging themselves to be aligned with Black Lives Matter who said awful shit. But the baseline purpose of the Black Lives Matter movement was not just kill the police. What the fuck are you talking about? Why is this not all over the fucking news? Why did I noticed that they pull clips and talk about the president said this, and most of it's stuff that makes him look like he's relatively still in charge or that he has something genuine to say. It's really fucking odd. But listen to the...
Well, I think they're about politics, but I think they're about a lot of other things. If you go back to their original founding and what they were saying, kill the police. What they're saying is kill the police.
I know.
And that becomes mainstream? Not good.
No, not good.
Yeah, no. Killing the police has not become mainstream. What? And why is Nigel Farage going, yeah, okay, yeah, sure. Yeah, Black Lives Matter. Yeah, sure. They're for murdering cops. By the way, there was another dude, the guy with the flagpole with the Blue Lives Matter flag on it. that beat the cop was sentenced a couple of days ago.
We've seen specimens of it, of course, over in the UK, and we've seen Churchill's statue defaced and all of these things.
Well, you saw Churchill's beautiful bust being removed from the White House. When I got there, I said, send it back. They called, would you like to have the bust of Winston Churchill, a great one, right?
Yeah, quite sure. I mean, never stop yourself from kissing the ass of whoever you're talking to.
Winston Churchill stood on the rooftops in London, very calm, making speeches. Winston Churchill.
Yep.
Even you would say that, Nigel.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah, even you would say Winston Churchill. Even you, a British person.
I said,
What?
I absolutely wanted to explain. And as you know, President Obama, I believe, sent it back. He didn't want it. And I said, let's bring it back.
No, well, Joe Biden got rid of it on the first day. Which
did he? Oh,
yeah. Which is why, of
Not
course,
surprised.
there's been no advancement with trade deals and all the rest
I
of it.
mean, why?
Yeah, that's why. Yeah. I mean, the AUKUS agreement's pretty broad, obviously, and it's a big win for England. And, of course, we paired up a lot during this kind of thing. But let's see. Hold on one second. Biden, Winston, Churchill, bust. This is hold on. Get out of here. Stop it. I don't want to watch this. Don't hold on. Ads. January 22nd, 2021. I don't care. Get the fucking page out of the way. What are you doing? Quit it. Here you go. This is January 22nd, CNN Apollo. Reaction to Churchill bust removal muted for Biden after outrage for Obama. It had once been a transatlantic art scandal, or at least various actors of questionable intent would have you believe it was. Overheated, confusing, and laden in the end with blatant racism, the case of the White House bust of Winston Churchill still persists. Joe Biden has removed it from the Oval Office after 4 years standing sentry under his predecessor, who thought he looked something like the wartime prime minister. An Oval Office redesign brought in new busts instead. Cesar Chavez, Martin Luther King Jr., Robert F. Kennedy, Rosa Parks, Eleanor Roosevelt. Some British tabloids deemed it as a snub. The U.S. Embassy in London put out a video Friday morning underscoring the special relationship with the U.S. Read more, sure. We've seen some discussion about in another era, the same decision caused outcry. Bush, let's see. There's Mike Huckabee, former said it was because President Barack Obama probably grew up hearing the British were a bunch of imperialists who persecuted his grandfather. Fuck off. Claimed the declaration foreshadowed everything that was coming in the next 6 years. Boris Johnson, who was mayor of London, is now prime minister, went furthest. He blamed the swap on part Kenyan president's ancestral dislike of the British Empire. Jesus. The attacks were blatantly racist and also misleading. There are two identical Churchill busts, both by the British modernist sculptor Sir Jacob Epstein. One has been in the White House collection since Lyndon B. Johnson's administration. Another was lent by Prime Minister Tony Blair to the George W. Bush White House when the other one was being restored. The one from Blair sat on display in the Oval Office until Bush departed. It was returned to the British government. Under Obama, the White House-owned version was not displayed in the White House. Instead, Obama kept it outside the treaty room in the residence, where he walked past it when he wanted to watch basketball on the weekends and evenings. He chose to put it there so he could see it during his personal time. He had a bust of King in the office. Which is, by the way, I think where it went back to. So the Churchill bust is right outside the treaty room in the White House.
When you do that with Winston Churchill and you're trying to get along with your country, and
yeah, I mean, they're so temperamental about it. If our former monarchical leaders get upset with us, what else shall we do?
It's such a token, but such an important token. No, I had it back for my entire time. It was there. I looked. Yeah. He was a very handsome man.
He's a very brave man, too. But
yeah, but, he's a very brave man. But I know you liked him because his jowls were bigger than yours, and therefore you know, if you say you want to look skinny, hang around fatter people.
G7. Biden turns up at the G7, and this was before he let everybody down in Afghanistan, and which leaves us wondering, where is America in the world now? I mean, we've got big.
Yeah, where are we? I mean, you could bring up the AUKUS agreement, or the Quad, or NATO, or the G20 or the G7 meetings.
Haven't we? We've got a lot of Russian troops on the Ukrainian border. Yep. We've got China, ever more bellicose in their statements about Taiwan. We've got Iran. I mean, can you believe it? Negotiations are going on this week with Iran and the Israelis.
So that's probably one of the areas where America is in the... All right.
And the Israelis are very, very scared. Where is America in the world right now?
I think it's at the lowest...
The Israelis are very, very scared.
point it's ever been at. I don't think it's ever been in a position like this. We're not respected anymore. I will tell you, there were no planes flying over Taiwan, and the name wasn't even mentioned.
No, they were too busy planning, I guess, a bioweapon attack. Is that the theory?
And you didn't talk about Taiwan when I was president. It wasn't going to happen, what they're doing now. And they'll wait till after the Olympics, I assume, and perhaps something will happen. But it's not good if you're there and you have bombers flying over your country constantly, which is constant. With the
it's constant. It's constant. It's not constant. It's intermittent. Let's see. Chinese planes, Taiwan airspace. Let's see what the latest is. Chinese aircraft have not been flying in Taiwan's airspace, but rather its Air Defense Identification Zone, or ADIZ, ADIZ, a broader area Taiwan monitors and patrols that acts to give it more time to respond to any threats. So, but they've been, according to Trump, they've been flying bombers over the island. October 31st, Taiwan scrambles jets as Chinese Air Force enters Air Defense Zone. So they didn't, no, they're not flying. See, I thought they were, when did China fly into? China flew in unprecedented 52 warplanes near Taiwanese airspace. Oh, sorry, what? Near Taiwanese airspace. Beijing appears to believe it's now time to test America's resolve in support of the island nation as it boasts of its military might. This is October 4th. This was, look at what it says. U.S. News and World Report. You got to take this. Brazen China steadily ramps up warplane flights in Taiwan's airspace. China flew an unprecedented 52 warplanes near Taiwanese airspace on Monday. Near. These fuckers did not even wait till paragraph 3. Could he just make it easier for me? Could this dipshit just make my job easier?
So we had no problem. I had no problem with, you didn't mention North Korea, Kim Jong-un.
No, when you crossed the line.
I got along with him great. I got along with him.
Why the constant need to prove his bona fides by how well he got along with that fucker? Is it because he knows he has no deals with him? Like if he says Xi Jinping or Putin, people start looking, but nobody has any deals with Kim Jong-un because what the fuck would you want there? So he can, it's relatively harmless compared to the deals he made Saudi Arabia for himself.
Almost as well as
Little Rocket Man, you called him.
I did. But then we became very like you.
He forgave you.
But you know the truth, we didn't have a problem, and now you've got a problem with them too. You didn't mention that one, and
yeah.
Honestly, that's a big problem because he does have serious nuclear power.
Huh? Because I thought he stopped making those things because he liked you. But apparently he had more weapons as soon as your presidency ended than he had when he started. So something happened.
and many other things. If you take a look at energy independence, we were energy independent, first time ever. And now we are going and begging for oil. We're going back begging for oil. We go to...
Since when are we fucking begging for oil?
Arabia, we go to Russia.
Boring.
OPEC, we go and say,
boring.
Please give us oil. We had so much oil, we didn't know what to do with it. A gallon of gasoline was $1.80.
Everybody had so much oil, we didn't know what to do with it. Oil was negative $36 a barrel. No one knew where to put the shit.
$87 when I left. Now it's going to be $7.50 in California.
Where it was $11 plus in California. I'm sure Nigel knows that at that very same station.
Yeah.
And the big thing is going to be inflation, because the inflation, and it's hitting you too. It hits everybody now.
Yeah.
But
but it's probably Biden's fault. It's hitting you and everybody, but it's got to be us. See, you fucked up there. You kind of let the cat out of the bag, dum-dum. Yeah, because inflation's affecting the entire fucking world.
Inflation is at a level maybe that we haven't seen for, I guess, 40, 50
Oh, God. Boring!
years.
40 years.
It's a big problem.
And yet the strange thing is, Boris Johnson, and you've always been very generous about Boris Johnson, and you wanted to see the agony of Brexit not being completed. We wanted to see that got over the line, and it was. And yet Boris Johnson seems to have bonded with Joe Biden over wind energy, over net zero, over COP26 in the most extraordinary way. What do you
It's so very strange. What do you make of this whole, like, clean air and water bullshit?
think of these promises for net zero?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. And I think wind is a horrible thing.
I think wind is a horrible thing. For fuck's sake. You what?
COP26 in the most extraordinary way. What do you make of these promises for net zero?
Well, I think it's ridiculous. And I think wind is a horrible thing for Scotland. And I got to see it because I own great properties in Scotland and Ireland. And I look at these magnificent fields with these horrible windmills all over them. And windmills is a nice term, I guess turbines. And they're starting to rust, because once they're there for a couple of years, they start to rust and wear out and look terrible, look even worse. And I'm looking at it, and you know, you're talking about a place that really has a lot of energy in so many different ways. You have a lot of hydro, but you have a lot of energy. And when I look at all of these things that need subsidy, because they don't work without subsidy, they need subsidy. And what so many countries, not just your country, not just UK, it's all over the place. You fly over, I'm saying, what a shame what they've done.
Well,
and you know that environmentalists are liking this stuff. I think they hate the world.
Boris says we're going to be the Saudi Arabia of wind, which is
Well,
all well and good when the wind blows.
I think it's a shame. I'm in Aberdeen. They built this ugly wind farm in the ocean. It's so disgusting to look at it. It's a shame. I built one of the most beautiful, one of the greatest golf.
Hold on. Hold. Wait a second. Let's see. When? Ugh. It's just disgusting to look at. Look at it. Look at that. Oh, it's ugly. Look how gross it is. It's just disgusting. Yuck. Look at that. Oh, it's terrible. They're just so... Look at, there's the nice view of the boats, these beautiful boats. And then you look at compared to the... Oh, it's just terrible. Look at these things. Look. It looks so like something out of a Dutch hot chocolate ad. It's gross. Look at it at night. It's even worse. Look at that. That's fucking terrible. It's like a permanent flock of birds. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, look at this. Look at that. It's just disgusting. It just ruins the look at yeah. That doesn't look like something out of a fucking futuristic movie or anything. That looks like shit. That's terrible. Why couldn't they have some oil rigs out there? Some real manly stuff pumping away instead of swishing around like a bunch of girlies. That's what we need, man. Come on now. We need you don't need these old girly windmills of swishing and the swirling and the wiggling and the whopping. You need some good old manly man oil pump, just a pumping up and down and pumping up and down and up and down and up and down and pumping up and down, just pumping down and sweating instead of this stuff. This looks like something Luke Skywalker would stare at while he's contemplating his future. Kind of awful shit is that, man? This is not, that's disgusting. Why can't we just, maybe if we crank up some coal plants, we can cover the whole thing in smoke. That'd do it. Fix that shit. Come on. You tell him what to, there's a handsome man looking right at me. You're envious of my smile. Are you not? Ho ho! Hi there. Come on, here we go.
Forces, it's been so reviewed in the world. And now you look at, you know, not very far off. You know, when these things are 20.
No, you look at that like in the scale of timescapes of time, in the very near not time future now, it's just awful.
30 stories tall, the monsters, they can be
terrible. That it's like the Godzilla of fucking windmills, man. It's like we need like a giant, like a Mothra to get rid of these things. They nasty. It looks like a bunch of Cuisinarts, like God's Cuisinart.
Far out, and they're not far out. They're right on top of you. No, I think it's.
I know. I feel it. I can look in the picture. I'm like, Jesus, back off.
Shame what's happened in Scotland.
I mean, it's one thing to give the birds cancer, but I don't need to be diddled by a windmill.
In UK, all over the place. You take a look.
Terrible.
I think Ireland's been better about it. If you want to know the truth, they've been tougher.
I really don't, actually. I actually don't want to know the truth. I'm not too concerned with it. I love you, sir. If the truth was what I was looking for, I'd flip the dial. Don't need it. America doesn't need it. We don't need truth. We need Trump. You only got to change 2 letters in truth, and you end up with Trump. Sorry, when I start doing spelling math, I get a little like a brain cramp.
And other countries are getting tougher, but wind is the most expensive form of energy. And remember,
you ain't got to tell me, man. Do you have any idea how many pork rinds I have to eat before I have enough wind to power shit? I use what I would call hydroelectric power to get it out of myself, mister. So don't. Oh, that was not good. Excuse me. I might have to take a break. See y'all in a minute.
Every 10 years, you have to replace those monsters. And a lot of times they don't bother. You know what they do? They just let them rot.
That's what they, yeah. Everywhere I look, just rotten windmills, far as the eye can see.
All the birds.
No, but Boris.
10 years. 10 years.
It's so bad.
Boris is he's hooked on
he's wrong.
this.
Boris is wrong. If he's going heavy into wind, I mean, you're telling me, but if he's going heavy into wind, he's wrong. He's making a big mistake.
He is. You've always been nice about him, but he's.
No, I like him. I get along with him. I've always gotten along with him. He's gone a little bit on the more liberal side. But I'll tell you, with energy, I'm surprised that he would allow that to happen, because you have one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and you're destroying it with all these wind turbines all over the place.
Yeah, well,
and you don't need them.
I have to say, I'm not a great fan of them. And net zero, what does net zero mean? I mean, you know, if the...
Oh, yes. Oh, please, God. Please, God. Please let him answer the actual question, what does net zero mean? Please. Oh, please. Please. I want to hear him try to explain net zero. Oh,
Biden administration, if the Democrats were to stay in for the next 20 or 30 years, what would that mean for the American
economy? I think the
economy?
carbon taxes that they want to put on countries and people and companies, I think it's ridiculous. And look, we have, in our case, liquid gold They're taking it away from us by not letting us use it. It's liquid gold and natural gas.
No, it's not.
It's very clean. What? It works out very well.
It's called black gold Texas tea. This is a man who was educated by the Beverly Hillbillies, which he basically is. Like everybody thinks that Beverly Hillbillies would have been cute. The reality is it would have been, you know, Ellie Mae would have been an aging Karen. Grandma would have never had an unracist thing to say. And Jeb wouldn't have been this wizened old man. He'd be Trump, essentially.
But you have clean coal, even. But we have resources in the U.S. that are incredible. And the enemy is making us feel badly about it and taking it away, putting our...
The enemy is making us feel bad. The enemy, by the way, being our lungs.
Companies at a big disadvantage. We were at a position the likes of which we've never seen just a year ago, and now people can't get gasoline for their car, or if they do, they have to pay.
Yeah, there's no gas. I don't know if you've been to a gas station lately. It's terrible. The lines, incredible. You have to pay to walk now. It's terrible. Some of us use wind just to, move around.
So much. It's very sad. Now, in your country, which I do know something about, I own Turnberry. I own great properties in your country. Yeah. I mean, just great properties. I love it.
Well,
I love your people. I love everything about it.
But
I got along great with Boris, but I see what they're doing, and I think they're making a tremendous mistake.
You also got on well with the Queen. You really enjoyed it. You really enjoyed that.
I think she's a fantastic woman. She is a fantastic woman. I was supposed to spend like a half an hour with her. I ended up being there for much more than an hour, and everyone said, "Oh, that's so rude." But I said, "No, but she liked it, and I liked it. I'm not going to be rude."
Hey, assholes, she's not going to, it's the British way. She's not going to tell you it's time to go. You're supposed to know when your exit is.
And we had a great time together. We then had an evening, the likes of which you rarely would see. And
Ew. We're still talking about the Queen and not Stormy, right?
She was laughing and smiling. We got along great. We talked the whole night.
Yeah, she's got a masterful skill at humoring assholes. She's had to do it her whole life.
She is a great one.
Oh, hi. Hi, Chipper. What's going on? We have a Chip sighting. Hold on. Hi, buddy. Hi, come here. Look at you. What's going on, Chipper? Hi. What's going on? Everybody loves Chipper. You're a sleepy boy. Was he sleeping on the shelf?
When I came in.
Yes.
And then he's running around me as I was working on it.
Mm-hmm. Were you in the Christmas tree? Were you in the new Christmas tree, young man? Chipper.
He wants to walk on your keyboard.
Huh?
He wants to walk on your keyboard.
He wants to walk on the keyboard? Oh. Yeah, he digs in and then he just sits here. Hi, buddy. I'm almost done, okay? Yeah? Why don't you go with Mama, and then yeah. There you go. There you go. You're fixing the litter boxes? Yeah. Very exciting. It's a project.
Full woman.
Yeah, well, she's been there nearly 70 years now on the throne.
Yeah,
it's incredible, and she's still head of state in Canada, Australia. I mean, it's unbelievable.
And respected by...
Yeah, not Barbados, but,
everyone.
Yeah.
And no scandal, no anything. Think of it. She's done...
Well, no scandal? I mean, he literally just had two of her, her grandkid and his wife leave the royal family, and her brother is, like, all wrapped up in the Epstein shit. She's surrounded by scandals. It's not her fault.
This for more than 70 years, and she's never had...
I love when he repeats back a detail he's never heard to the person who just told him and go, I hear even... Scandal
about herself.
No.
No scandal, no anything. She's an incredible woman.
No, and she had a very tough year. She lost her husband this year.
Tough year.
They were married over 70 years, and she's been ill. She's, had to withdraw from one or two public engagements.
Hopefully not very ill, though. I've been watching it closely because I love her. I think she's great. My mother was born in Scotland, My mother loved, she came over here at about 19 years old, met my father. They were married for many, many years. They were married like they had a great marriage, but
They were married like they had a great marriage. I mean, I don't understand why he put out a picture book with all the best words.
Scotland. She'd go back once a year religiously, but she was really somebody that respected the Queen. She loved the Queen. Anything with the Queen. When they were doing anything ceremonial, as an example, she'd be glued to the television. But she had great respect and love for the Queen.
Well, and hundreds of millions around the world.
That's true.
Respect this
That's
woman.
true.
I mean, in the most astonishing way. And I know your enthusiasm for it. Yet her son, Charles, who would be the natural successor, and you had a meeting with Charles, and it was reported by one of your former press secretaries that you were somewhat bored by the meeting.
That I was?
Yeah.
No, I wasn't bored. I liked Charles. I thought he was great. No, he's an environment.
Oh, so Kayleigh was lying. I see. All right, sure.
He talked about the environment most of the meeting, which was fine. I mean, I understood that was the purpose of the meeting, and he was telling.
He was all pro-wind. I couldn't understand it. He kept bringing up wind. It was terrible. The whole thing was just a nightmare. God damn.
Me his views. I was not bored at all. No, I think Charles is a wonderful.
I'm bored. I'm bored by this whole interview. I just want to know where all the furniture went.
Person.
Okay. Now, somebody you may not think is quite as wonderful is a recent British export to America. And I think we're kind of quite pleased to have got rid of him, really, is Prince Harry, of course.
Yeah.
And Meghan living over here, being not only disobliging about you at every given opportunity, but actually the entirety of the Conservative movement. And now we hear that she's ringing up senators, ringing up members of Congress, lobbying for law changes, and doing some of this on headed paper that says the Duchess of Sussex. And we saw the Oprah Winfrey interview, and it turned out later a lot of what she said simply
Trump doesn't know what the fuck he's talking about.
just wasn't true.
Yeah.
Should she go into American politics?
I'm not a fan of hers. I wasn't from day one. I think
From day one, I just saw her and I was like, what is this chick smiling about? Ew. I wasn't a fan from day one.
Harry has been used horribly. I think someday he will regret it. You know, a lot of people are saying
Projection.
I'm very good at the prediction business. I think some.
No, you're not. For example, you predicted that you were going to win the election.
Day he will regret it. He probably does already. But I'm not a fan of hers at all. And I think she's very disrespectful to the Queen that we just spoke about, who's such a great woman, who's such a great person, historic person. I think she's very disrespectful to the.
Fuck, dude. Just keep repeating 5 phrases. I'm sure there's some asshole on YouTube who can take what he's saying and go, this is how you masterfully control a conversation, by just repeating 5 phrases and half of the things the interviewer just said back at them, and people will go, what a masterful control of the circumstance, the language, and the interviewer he had.
Royal family, but maybe most importantly to the Queen. And I just, from day one.
What about mention evangelicals? Maybe that's
I never got
she also slights them.
I never got it. I see her, I listen.
That's get used to it.
To her, she's trying to do things that I think are inappropriate, very inappropriate. But I think Harry's been used terribly. It's ruined his relationship with his family.
Completely.
And it's really, really, I think it hurts the Queen.
Yeah, and you can't
Filler.
use a royal title and get involved.
Well,
in
I didn't know
American
she was doing
affairs.
that, but
well, no, she has been doing it.
It's not appropriate.
Let's finish off back here in America. Big victory.
Wrap it up.
Youngkin, big victory the other week. Virginia, he won that race, won it very, very comfortably to be the governor. And what was interesting, I thought, was
that he lost New Jersey, even though normally the party out of power wins both.
He was actually getting votes in Northern Virginia, and he was getting votes very much on just ordinary parents living in suburbia that don't want their kids taught critical race theory.
That's true. They're not believers.
Don't want their kids to be told America's rubbish.
Right.
You did well with your base.
They They just want to elect people who will make sure that America is rubbish.
Well, I've never seen support
By the way,
like it.
I don't know if you noticed, Nigel, but there were several moments in this interview where Trump essentially intimated that America is rubbish.
Well, with the black community.
And by the way, Youngkin, who's a very good man, did very well with my base. And I did a tele-town hall call, had massive numbers of people on that call get out and vote.
The fuck he did. No, he didn't. A tele-town hall.
And my base got out and voted for him. And that was a great victory for the Republican Party. And we have many other great victories that night. You know, we swept the land. We had
They were big.
Well, yeah, I mean, you lost New Jersey, and the dude who won I think the head of the state house in New Jersey is in trouble already.
Success.
They were big results.
It's really great. Things are happening. Things are happening.
You got the black vote up significantly for the Republicans.
Right.
That was a big achievement.
I did.
This is going to be a great part of the conversation.
You had a problem in suburbia. Suburban voters were a bit reluctant. Maybe they found...
See, I don't believe that. I think I did very well there. And the other thing, I
Okay.
did great with Hispanics. You know, the Hispanic vote, for me,
Yes, all the votes that I got that were surprising were completely not surprising. And all the votes that I got that I shouldn't have gotten, I actually got. So just for the record, what in the world? Oh, this is the...
is legendary, the numbers. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. A report came out literally an hour ago talking about how well I've done with the Hispanic vote, a number that nobody's ever had before as a Republican, a number that's really game-changing. It's a you know, they're great people.
Yeah, and yet they, of course, who've come legally to America.
That's right.
Just as we have a border crisis, we've got these little boats crossing the English Channel.
Yeah, right.
You've got
Yeah, these little boats full of Polish.
southern border crisis. I was down in Arizona in May looking at it. I couldn't believe the scale of it. How big a political issue? Because in the UK, our border issue is becoming the #1 political issue. How big is it here?
So I got elected in 2016 because of the border and other things. And
it took me all the time to build most of the wall. One more month. And
2020, I didn't talk about the border. You know why? Because I did such a good job, it was no longer an issue.
Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have too many successes and you don't want to seem like you're bragging.
But still, I got many more votes. So, you know, I guess it wasn't as important. Now it's the biggest issue again.
Yeah.
But now it's worse than it ever was in the history of our country. We never had a
Well, yeah, I blame the wall. Yeah, that's why. I mean, we never had it this bad until that wall was built.
problem like we have now with the border. I did the best job. We had the best border situation in the history of our country, just like I created the best economy in the history of our country. But we had the best border, and now we have, a year later, the worst border. Millions of people are coming in.
Yeah. Do you regret, like, making the wall? Because you seem to be fine. You know, during Obama, he was kicking more people out than you did during the thing. So he's managing it fairly well. And then you put the wall up, and things have just gotten worse ever since the wall went up.
Unvetted, unchecked. It's a disgrace what's happened. It's a very big issue.
Yeah, well, it is for us too. Should we stop the boats coming across the English Channel, in our case?
Let me work about the mark. How about if I just work on...
You sort this border out first.
Let me solve this problem.
It is. So here you are.
Yeah, let me solve this problem.
At Mar-a-Lago, magnificent place. You've got your family around you.
I've noticed the greatest thing about Mar-a-Lago, it is totally unencumbered by other people. And there's a wonderful echo everywhere I go.
You've had so many great things you've done in your life, you know, business, real estate, television.
So
you've been the 45th president of the United States, and yet from day
you're not anymore.
one,
You know,
they made your life hell.
Yeah.
The Russia hoax.
Well, you know, they had some help from you making your life hell, because obviously a lot of what was wrong with your life was doing.
A
But
whole load of conspiracies, untruths. You know, I saw you during some of that going through it. They put you through impeachments, mainstream.
Oh, they did stuff to you. They came in here. They stole all your furniture.
Fake impeachments, Russia, which now turned out to be a total hoax.
Yep.
And everybody
No.
knows it. And they should take away the Pulitzer Prizes from writers that knowingly, in most cases, were writing about.
Juan, don't post videos in the Facebook from Facebook. Sorry. And Trump is not a Freemason, just for the record. Take it from me.
Fiction. It was pure fiction.
Yeah.
Turned out that.
And Hunter Biden can do what he likes and no one cares. And we know all that.
Well, it's weird, like, because nothing he did or he's been accused of doing actually has affected policy in a way that would speak to the kind of scandal you're saying, like playing footsie with the Chinese or the Russians or anything like that. And yet it hasn't stopped Biden from being increasingly tough on the Chinese from day one, if not worse. Then, you know, so what was supposed to be what were they supposed to get out of this?
Why would a man who's got all the things that you've got,
Maybe your best question.
why would a man who's got all the things you've got, great family, wonderful life, you're
Has he met any of them?
fit, you're looking fit, why on earth would he consider going back into that hell again?
So I love our country.
And he's not.
I brought the country to a level it's never seen before. Then
Which apparently was easily taken away because all of your fixes were shitty and temporary.
had COVID come in, and then I brought it back, came up with vaccines that you're using, we're all using, the world is using, saved tens of
Well, the first dose was actually given out in the UK. Nigel can tell you that.
millions of people throughout the world in less
Yeah. Oh, God, just blow him already, right?
than 9 months. It was supposed to take 12 years. Just heard the other day, they were expecting it
12. I thought it was 3, then 5. Now it's 12 years.
to take 12 years. And everyone said it wasn't going to work, and they worked incredibly
Yeah, using a time scale from the Spanish flu.
well. We've done an amazing job. If you love the country, you have no choice. It's not a question. It's just, this is a wonderful, beautiful life. But I like that too because I was helping people. That's why I did it.
Yeah. And it also helped me stay out of jail, and I was able to buy a lot of nice furniture, which has since been repossessed.
And I think you'll be happy in the future too, because that'll be your next question, but you'll be happy in the future.
Well, I know you can't answer that question because it would start the campaign clock ticking.
right.
But we've got the midterm
Yeah, well, it'll dry up the fucking campaign cash.
coming up in less than a year. Are you going to be out on the campaign
Yes,
trail?
I will. I'll be helping a lot of people. We've been endorsing candidates. I'm 152-2. My endorsement, 152 wins
Yep.
and 2 losses.
Okay.
And those 2 losses were actually by people that were, the people that won were more Trump than I was, okay? So they won. But what happened is, what's happening
So why'd you endorse the less Trump person?
is everybody wants the endorsements become very important. The most important and the most powerful endorsement
This is an advertisement, by the way.
that our country has seen. And so I have an obligation to make
It could be nice if you were a tad louder. Okay, that's good news. All right, I'll see
sure
if
the
I can
right
do
people get in.
Check.
And we have many, many people
Check.
online. Actually, when I leave here right now,
Yep.
I've got 4 candidates that want an endorsement. It's a very important job because we're going to have I think we're going to have a very big 22, and I think we're going to have an even bigger 24.
Donald Trump, thank
you.
you for joining us on GB News.
Thank you very much.
So rage true, the Donald Trump story. Fuck, it's so boring. Ugh.